We're starting a new series today, and I honestly don't think I have the capacity to be any more excited about it than I am. We're going to be going through this book in the Bible that we just sang through. It's a book called the Psalms, and we're calling the series The Songs of the Shepherd King. This unique guy, David, wrote most of these. And this book is different than any other book in the Bible. It invites us to do things that, I'll be honest, most of us don't do anywhere else. Have you thought about this? Is there any place else in your life that you go and you stand shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people and you sing? The ballpark, right? Does anybody sing like Deep in the Heart of Texas? Does anybody cry when you sing Deep in the Heart of Texas? Is there anybody here that loves Texas so much that you're like, the stars are bright. They are so bright. And they are big and bright. And I clap because you got to do that. I don't know if anybody gets that excited about it. But my guess is that you've been like me at Ecclesia some week. And maybe you've been in a place of sorrow and the magic of the melody opened a door into your heart that you didn't think was there. Maybe you're like me and you were working on something, you weren't seeing any fruit from it, and we sang that song, Your Labor is Not in Vain, and just tears broke loose that you didn't think you had, right? Or maybe today, right? We sang, Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. In the midst of a world that feels pretty broken, the thought of God pursuing you with goodness, right, means something. It might have unlocked tears. It might have unlocked joy. It might have given you a sense of unity in that we sing the same words together. We do this thing together, right? Today we sang, He'll give you everything. Magnify the Lord with me, right? It was a beautiful moment to sing all of that with you, and especially those of you that got here just a few minutes ago. I was at a bar yesterday, and always I find someone that said, you're Pastor Chris, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, I go to your church. And I asked him, he's having a baby tomorrow. I asked him which service he's going to, and he said he's going to the 10:30 service. So we have services at 9, 10, and 11. But I'm pretty sure he'll be at the West Side at 10:30, right in the middle of the service. And many of you, welcome to the 9:30 service. And I'm glad that you could be here. We kick off with some great songs, and you just wonder, like, why do we sing? Because melody is medicine, because our hearts need to express emotion. And I'm telling you, most of you won't get the analogy, but you would become like Spock from the Star Trek show, like the person that can't feel emotion, that can't face your demons, that can't face your fears, that can't address your hopes if we didn't have a chance to come and experience beauty and melody and let our guard down and actually communicate with God who we are. Eugene Peterson said that the Psalms do this, that the Psalms train us in honest prayer. They're the language of the people who bring their entire lives into the presence of God. That's what you're going to see today that we all desperately need. When we have a songbook that we sing together that allow us to express our fear, our hope, our longing, our anxiety, even our anger. Isn't it beautiful that God can receive our anger? Like he's not afraid of it. A bunch of these Psalms, like David's angry with God. Did God do something? No, probably not. But sometimes we feel that, and it's fine to express it. So we're going to look in this story, and this is where we start. David starts with his family, and Samuel in ancient Israel has been challenged by God with the job to go and choose and select the next king. And he finds himself at David's family home, believing that God has led him there, that one of the sons is intended to be the king. And they bring out the sons one by one, and it's literally like a freaking NFL lineup. You got a tight end, you got a tackle, you got a quick quarterback. You've got these mountains of men. Smart, young, strapping, ready. And as they're presented to Samuel, over and over and over again, God whispers in his ear, not the one, not the one. not the one. And in 1 Samuel 16, it tells us this. As we address Daniel, who I'm calling him David, the forgotten son. 1 Samuel 16 tells us, Samuel asked, "Is this it? Are there no more sons?" Jesse said, "Well, there's the youngest. He's out with the sheep." We didn't call him in. Samuel said, "Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." So Jesse sent for David. The Eternal said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." And Samuel took the horn of oil and he anointed in the presence of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Eternal rushed upon David and stayed with him from that day on. David is anointed by Samuel as the next king. And nobody thought he would be it. The most unlikely, the kid that still smells like sheep. He's been out in the fields writing poems. Anybody know a kid like that? They just sit around in the fields and write poems, and you're like, that's our future leader. Yeah. He's the unlikely king. And you can imagine, David stood before his brothers with the ultimate imposter syndrome. Me? I'm chosen for this? I can't do this. I'm not made for this. Look at who these people are. You chose me? And he has to begin to move forward, right? With this song, this holy insecurity. Brene Brown talks about it this way. In this unlikely calling, right? She says, vulnerability is not weakness, it's our greatest measure of courage. How does David become who he is? He faces his imposter syndrome. This is what I'd propose to you. The difference between you and David, the difference between me and David, is that instead of having imposter syndrome, this sense of like, you know what I'm talking about, right? This sense like, I'm going to be found out. They're going to figure out I don't know what I'm supposed to know. Can you imagine having a real job like you're in charge of the space shuttle, you know? And you're like, my math, I'm pretty sure it's not right. Something's like, it would be awful, right? And for most of us, like you're just going to be spiritually off track if I blow it, right? Eternity does hang in the balance a little bit. But there's this sense of like, I'm not who I need to be. The difference between David and us is that David didn't just have that feeling. He then wrote songs about it and he brought it to God. And when he brought it to God, he had an opportunity for healing. If we can do the same, if you gather every week and come to church, and by the way, the Aggies are going to be in church every week. They're here every week. They don't want to blow this. They're 8-0. They're like, we're going to be here. We're going to be at church. We're going to be praying. We're going to be faithfully just in our seats because we do not want to be the reason that God withdraws us from our blessed place. Right? So here's David. Like, what makes David unique is not that he feels like an imposter. It's that he feels like an imposter and he sings it to God. And when he sings it to God with an open heart, then God can say, you're enough. And it's okay that you're imperfect. I love the fact that you have a wide open heart. And Ecclesia, the same is true today. I want you to look, I'm going to give us a snapshot today of David as the psalmist or the psalmist within the king. We think of King David as this king, as a monarch, and what do monarchs project in power, but he was a songwriter. And these are the kinds of things that he writes about, right? Psalm 78, he says, it tells us that he chose David his servant and he took him from the sheep pens. From tending the nursing ewes, he brought him to shepherd Jacob, his people in Israel, his inheritance. David cared for them with an upright heart and he guided them with skillful hands. He was first a poet and then a king. And he was honest. Psalms like Psalm 13 where he says, how long, eternal one, will you forget me forever? How long will you look the other way? How long must I agonize, grieving your absence in my soul? Those are the words of someone who feels unseen, who feels unnoticed, who feels a holy insecurity, right? He's honest. After failure, he writes and pleads with God for a new start. In Psalm 51, he says this, create a clean heart within me, O God. Restore within me a sense of being brand new. Anybody had that feeling before? You're like, could I have a clean start? Could I just start over? Anybody asked for one before? David didn't just ask, he wrote about it. He sang it to God. And then he said, do not throw me far away from your presence and do not remove your spirit from me. God, please be close to me. I need you. He wrote about anxiety. In Psalm 42, he says, why are you so downcast, O my soul? All of us can relate to that. Why are you so disturbed within me? And then he kind of preaches to himself. He says, hope in God, because I will again give him thanks. What David is teaching us is that there's no emotion that's off limit with God. We get to truly be ourselves before God. And if we can be ourselves before God, we can find healing. We can find hope. He wrote about courage in Psalm 8. He says this, he says, when I look up at your heavens, the moon and the stars you set in their place, what is humankind that you even think about them? Human beings that you care for them. And then in awe, he goes on in Psalm 8, and he says this, he says, you made us a little lower than the heavenly beings. You placed a crown of glory and honor on our heads. You put us in charge of your handcrafted world. What's he doing? He's using partnership language with God. He's saying, God, we're in this together. You made us with a purpose, and I'm ready to help carry it out. To care for creation, to bring justice, to build beauty. In Psalm 23, he continues, and he writes this. He says, the eternal is my shepherd. This is a famous one, right? He cares for me always. He provides me in rest in rich green fields beside streams of refreshing water. He renews my life. He guides me along the right paths. Now, most of us hear Psalm 23, right? He cares for me always. He gives me rest. And we think David wrote this at the end of a spa day, right? He was at the trellis at the Houstonian and the pool was flowing by and he had a massage and he says, you provide rest rich for me. David wrote it from a cave while he was being hunted to be killed. It was in the midst of danger, but in the midst of danger, he said, I know you're with me. I have something to hope for, right? It's a beautiful thing. It's something we can learn from. Psalm 40 is one of my favorites. He said, and we'll sing this in the weeks to come, I waited a long time for the eternal. He finally knelt down to hear me. He pulled me out of the pit of destruction, out of the mud. Anybody been deep, dark, depressed before? And have felt the power of God to pull you out, to invite you to a new place? He set my feet on solid ground and he steadied me as I walked along. He put a new song in my mouth. That's my favorite line. Some of us need a new song. And one of the ways you get to a new song is you bring your current song to God. You say, God, this is hard. This is where I am. I'd like to be in a different place. And we journey well with God in that. So what does it look like? What do we learn from David? I got to tell you, what I love about David is that David did not have a private faith. His faith is on display in the Psalms. It's on display in his life. And his faith led to action. It's very much what my friend Bob Goff writes about. Love does. Great. Say you love. What does your love do? Right? The Bible talks about faith without works. And David believed that he was put in Israel in that time in history for a purpose and a reason. And he was ready. Not perfectly, but he was ready to execute what God had called him to do. This is the thing, Ecclesia. This is what I want you to hear as clear as I can say it. David was called not from a palace, but from a pasture, an ordinary place like you and I. And this is the thing. I don't think there's an iota of difference between David and you. I don't think an iota. I think when you wake up to the fact that you were called to this place, this city, for this time in history, to face the problems of our day, And in the same way that David took on Goliath with courage, right? With the very little that he had, we're called to take on similar giants. We live in a city with real problems. We live in a world that needs healing and hope and redemption, and maybe more than ever. Frederick Buechner says it this way. He says, the place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. I was hoping some phones would go up on this quote. I'm just telling you, would you keep it up a little longer? This would be one I just say, put it on your refrigerator. Put it in your daily reading. Because the question for many of us is, what is the place that God called us? And I'm telling you, Buechner's on track. That place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. You want to find somebody like that? Find Miss Jen over in the kids ministry, right? She's more excited to dress up with the kids today than any kid here, right? She's just made for it. It gives her great gladness. And you know what? It doesn't just give her great gladness. It's the place the world needs. These kids they need somebody that looks at them and says, we're here to have a good time because God loves you and I love you. And she's good at it, right? When you meet somebody that finds that intersection of their deep gladness and what the world needs, look out. Look out. It's a beautiful thing. And I believe at Ecclesia, none of us are different than David. We're all made to find it. Big giants all around us. So, what are the giants in our world today? And what does it mean to be anointed? This is what I would tell you today, and this is the invitation in many ways, is to receive your own anointing as David. To receive the sense of accepting exactly what David accepted. You're called to this place and this time for a purpose. Now you got to figure that out. You got pastors and people here, and that God will talk to you and speak to you and guide you. But you got to figure out, what is that purpose? What are the giants in the cities in the world? What are the Goliaths that we need to face together? And then we're going to take time and we're going to anoint you today during communion, if you'd like, with oil. Just to remind you and to speak over that you belong to God. Your gifts belong to God. You have a purpose in this place and in this time. And for God to say in many ways, you belong to me. Madeline L'Engle explains it beautifully this way. She says, we draw people to Christ not by loudly discrediting what they believe. Now, again, in some ways, I'm preaching this to the wrong congregation today. You guys get this. But I'm telling you, the world needs us to shine a light on it because many are taking the other path. We draw people to Christ not by loudly discrediting what they believe, but by showing them a light that's so lovely that they want it with all their hearts to know its source. When we live in a place that says we take on the Goliaths of our day, we take on the challenges of our day, we redeem and heal the world and make it a better place, we fight against prejudice and racism and economic injustice because it's right, because that's what we do. We try to make sure that no one feels alone. Thomas Merton says it this way, that our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. I'm telling you, Ecclesia, if we all live that way, our job's to love others without stopping to inquire whether they're worthy. Guess what? They are. They're made in the image of God. So what do we do, right? I heard the mayor this week talk about one of the problems in Houston at Harris County Jail. Did anybody else hear this? Because then I couldn't figure out where I heard it. I think I heard it on NPR. But he's upset with Harris County because they keep releasing inmates at midnight in downtown Houston without a single dollar, and they're on the streets, and it causes problems. Anybody else hear this? Am I the only one? Did I make it up or had a dream? Thank you, Don. Was it NPR? Do you think that? I don't know. I'm trying to find it. Literally, I just believe, I don't know if I can be there at midnight just because of the way my world works, but I just believe there's probably an Ecclesian that one day a week shows up at midnight wherever people are released and just goes, hey, I'm here. Can I buy you? I mean, I don't know what's open. Denny's. It's probably Denny's and Waffle House. I don't know what's open at midnight. But you just say, like, if you're getting out, is there something I can do to help you get started? I just think there probably is. I think there are probably ecclesians that are here and ready to go. Like, the number of people in our city, the number of families with kids that are sleeping in their cars. Like, there's something for me to do about that. The reality that so many kids in our city are getting their one meal a day at school and their SNAP benefits are about to disappear. We need to know. We need to know who our hungry neighbors are. We have to check with our neighbors and find out, do you have food in your refrigerator or your pantry? Is there something that you need? Because my guess is anybody else's pantry have some cans of chili that you're probably never going to eat. And then we just go like, we're just not going to waste. I'm just telling you, even if we didn't get more generous, if we just eliminated our waste, we would feed a lot of people. That we'd care for the firefighters, the police officers, the people that care for people that feel alone, the lonely and anxious people all around us in our workplace and our neighbors that literally believe that if they disappeared, nobody would notice. Those people exist in our circles. We have neighbors from the Ukraine and from Palestine that have fled from war zones. What does it look like to challenge those giants, to give them a place that feels safe? I got to tell you, if you want to make friends in Houston, I'm just going to give you, and by the way, get free stuff. Who likes free stuff? If you get a Palestinian kafia, and you go over you can go close to my neighborhood over on Hillcroft, you show up at a Palestinian auto mechanic shop or restaurant. You don't even have to wear a kafia, but they'll be impressed if you do. And you just show up and say, hey, I'm praying for my brothers and sisters in Palestine. I just wanted you to know you'll have hummus like free and it just like coming out right away. It'll be the best pita bread you've ever had. You're just going to be like, what? And they're going to want to serve you. And I'm just telling you, people are longing to hear that someone is standing in solidarity with them. We're called as a church to children and communities all across the globe that lack access to clean water. It's one of the giants that we face. There are people in our city and across the globe that are sick and poor. I'm just telling you, to be sick is hard. We got people in our community right now that are sick. To be sick and rich is hard. To be sick and poor is impossible. When you're sick and you're poor in this great country, a country that is the richest in history, when you are sick and poor, you don't seem to have a way out. And what does it mean, right? We think, well, that's not the church's responsibility. It actually is. It actually historically has been. You know why they call that hospital Methodist, right? You know why the one in Dallas is called Baptist, right? You know why, like you go down Christians were people that said, if anyone's sick, you should care for them. It became a corporation later on and they bought out the nonprofits, but at the heart was always the church saying the sick should be cared for. I could go on and on. We have pregnant women in our city being detained by ICE. What does that mean? What do we do? How do we stand with them? The best thing I can do is show you a quick video. And this is what I'm asking you to do today. It doesn't have to be all the giants. Wait. Let a pastor preach. That's what I'm asking you to do today. You don't have to face all the giants. But there's one giant or two that you can face. There's one or two that you can take on. What we'd like to do today is our pastors are going to be here and leaders to anoint you as you come and take communion. We're going to put a little oil on your head. I'd love to hear from your mouth. Like, this is a giant that I can face, or you could keep it to yourself. But I believe you're just like David. You're called to this city for a time and a place and a mission. And it's really ordinary, let's say. It may just be checking on neighbors that need food. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you, if you're the neighbor that needs food, it's world changing. A few months ago, I mentioned a similar giant that needed to be tackled at our Lindale campus. And the qualification for this one, I told you in the sermon, really easy. I'm looking for people that speak English. If you speak English, you could do this job. And some faithful ecclesians were among the many that said, I'll do this. This is Esther and Luis and their story of leaning in at Lindale to what is a simple but world-changing task.
We left here and we sat in the car and we had no words for a bit. Literally by the time we were at the stop sign, like I'm in tears. Like we just did not expect the impact that the students were gonna have on us. Hi, I'm Esther Serra.
My name is Luis Serna.
And we started teaching an adult ESL class this year. Ecclesia Lindo has had other ESL classes during the day, and I've always had a little bit of FOMO because I feel like I'm a teacher at heart. So when I was asked to do that, I was like, yes. I'm first generation. He's an immigrant. And
I was 18 when I came to the United States, started speaking English. And it took me a couple of years to pick up the language, learn it. So I kind of relate.
We've seen the growth with our students that came in and were like afraid to speak up. Their whole life is around just trying to just to be and to get by, and like, because the questions that we get, it's like very simple. How do I tell my boss that I need to leave early because I'm picking up my child today? And so things like that, and it's like, it's humbling. Like we don't worry about things like that, right? Like being in a room and being able to communicate with people or understanding what's going on around you.
They worry about other things that I don't worry about, but I remember because I was there at some point. I was like, oh yeah, that's how life used to be, right? And it's like
this, yeah.
It's hard, but they're wonderful people.
I know with like our political climate, there are fears of leaving your home and coming to a group. There are, and that's like heartbreaking. If it's time for the community to, I don't know, be vigilant and work through things and be there for each other, and like, just like, you know, there's a time for joy and a time to mourn, like I'm here for this as well. We're here on your team, we're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that you're okay. This is my neighbor, this is my brother, this is my sister, and like we're here in this together.
Immigrants live with us. They're part of our community. They get up every day, they work, they contribute to society, right? And society is whatever we make it to be. And I'm angry that we choose to do this out of society.
I feel that. I mean, again, I'm thankful for my status and that all of that, but I still also feel like wronged. And I think it's because of the way that things are right now. It's even more impactful, more meaningful, and there's like this sense of urgency and like, just, it stirs, it cannot be ignored. And so this is my joy. Like I leave here and this is the best part of my week. There's hope, you know, there's hope because if anything, there's these 15, 20, whatever it may be that week, people, and we just spend an hour and a half or 2 hours being together and like forgetting about some of those things sometimes and just being present with each other.
Ecclesia, that's what it looks like to be the church. That's what it looks like to embody God's love in the simplest ways. I believe, and I know, because I know Luis and Esther, they're no different than any of the rest of you. We're all made to take on those giants. And giants don't fall without courage. Somebody has to be courageous. So today I want to give you 2 quick ways, and I've named about 20 others that you could probably extrapolate 100 others from them. But one thing I can tell you is that at Lindale, at our campus there are a lot of opportunities like that. Because some of you you're like, I don't know what that is yet. If you don't know, if you know, then just let's do it. If you need my help, you need Paul's help, we'll help you. We'll try to figure it out. But we're all called to do something, multiple things. This might be one of them. I can tell you also, the amazing people at Jubilee Prison Ministry have a lot of need. They go into prisons where people don't have any opportunity to hear a voice of somebody that believes in them. and they give them hope and direction for when they get out. And I'm just telling you, it's one of the best ways you could spend a weekend. So those are two. We're anointing you today, and I'd encourage you, I'd love it if every one of you got anointed. I don't believe there's a single person here that's different than David. You're not being anointed as a king or a queen. You're being anointed as a peacemaker, as a healer, as a servant. And the world right now needs more helpers, more servants, more healers, more peacemakers.